I can't put the book down, so I'm back to read some more. Hope y'all don't mind. If you do, oh well. It's all love and light here, so if I need a trip, we're all one. Wouldn't matter anyways. So, we're at Canto 10, The Kingdoms of the Godhead in the Little Mind. This too must now be overpassed and left, as all must be until the highest is gained. In whom the world and self grow true as one. Till that is reached, our journeyings cannot cease. Always a nameless goal beckons beyond. Always ascends the zigzag of the gods, and upward points the spirit's climbing fire. This breath of hundred-hued felicity and its pure, heightened figure in time's joy, tossed upon waves of flawless happiness, hammered into single beats of ecstasy, this fraction of the spirit's integer, caught into a passionate greatness of extremes, this limited being lifted to zenith bliss, happy to enjoy one touch of things supreme, packed into sealed small infinity, its endless time-made world outfacing time, a little output of God's vast delight, the moments stretched towards the eternal now. The hours discovered immortality, but satisfied with their sublime contents, on peaks they ceased, whose tops halfway to heaven pointed to an apex they could never mount, to a grandeur in whose air they could not live, inviting to their high and exquisite sphere, to their secure and finite extremities, this creature who hugs his limits to feel safe, these heights declined a greater adventurer's call, a glory and sweetness of satisfied desire tied up the spirit to golden posts of bliss. It could not house the wideness of a soul which needed all infinity for its home, a memory soft as grass and faint as sleep, the beauty and call receding sank behind. Like a sweet song heard fading far away upon the long high road to timelessness. Above was an ardent white tranquility, a musing spirit looked out on the worlds, and like a brilliant clambering of skies, passing through clarity to an unseen light, large lucent realms of mind from stillness shone. But first he met a silvery gray expanse where day and night had wedded and were one. Wow, it did look silvery gray when we had that solar eclipse just recently. Anyways. Interesting. It was a tract of dim and shifting rays, parting life sentient flow through thought's self-poise, a coalition of uncertainties, there exercised uneasy government on a ground reserved for doubt and reasoned guess, a rendezvous of knowledge with ignorance, at its low extremity held difficult sway, a mind that hardly... What you doing in there, Pete? A mind that hardly saw and slowly found its nature to our earthly nature close, and akin to our precarious mortal thought that looks from soil to sky and sky to soil, but knows not the below nor the beyond. It only sensed itself in outward things. This was the first means of our slow ascent, from the half-conscious of the animal soul living in a crowded press of shape events, in a realm it cannot understand nor change. Only it sees and acts in a given scene and feels the joys and sorrows for a while. The ideas that drive the obscure embodied spirit along the roads of suffering and desire in a world it struggles to discover. Truth found here their power and to be and nature force. Here are devised the forms of an ignorant life that sees the empiric facts as settled law, labors for the hours and not for eternity, and trades its gains to meet the moment's call. The slow process of a material mind which serves the body it should rule and use, and needs to lean upon an erring sense, was born in that luminous obscurity, advancing tardily from a limping start, crutching hypothesis on argument, throning its theories as certitudes. It reasons from the half-known to the unknown, ever constructing its frail house of thought, ever undoing the web that it has spun. A twilight sage whose shadow seems to himself moving from minute to brief minute lives. A king dependent of his satellites, signs and decrees of ignorant ministers, a judge in half possessions of his proofs, a voice clamant of uncertainties, postulates, an architect of knowledge, not its source. This powerful bondslave of his instruments thinks his low station nature's highest top, oblivious of his share in all things made, all haughtily humble in its own conceit, believes himself a spawn of matter's mud, and takes his own creations for his cause, to eternal's light and knowledge meant to rise. Up from man's bare beginnings is our climb. Out of earth's heavy smallness we must break, we must stretch our nature with spiritual fire. Ooh. My painting says love in its essence is spiritual fire. An insect crawl preludes our glorious flight. Our human state cradles the future God. Our mortal frailty and immortal force at the glowworm top of these pale glimmer realms, where dawn sheen gambled with native dusk and helped the day to grow and night to fail. Escaping over a wide and shimmering bridge, he came into a realm of early light. And the regency of a half-risen sun, out of its rays our mind's full orb was born, appointed by the spirit of the worlds to mediate with the unknowing depths. A prototypal depth intelligence has poised on equal wings of thought and doubt, toiled ceaselessly twixt beings' hidden ends, a secrecy breathed in life's moving acts, a covert nurse of nature's miracles. It shaped life's wonders out of matter's mud. It cut the pattern of the shapes of things. It pitched mind's tint in the vague, ignorant vast. A master magician of measure and device has made an eternity for recurring forms, and to the wondering spectator thought assigned a seat on the inconscient stage. On earth, by the will of this arch-intelligence, a bodiless energy put on matter's robe. Proton and photon served the imager eye to change things subtle into a physical world, and the invisible appeared as shape, and the impalpable was felt as mass. Magic of precept joined with concept's art, and lent to each object an interpreting name. Idea was disguised in a body's artistry, and by a strange atomic law's mystique, a frame was made in which the sense could put its symbol picture of the universe. Even a greater miracle was done. The mediating light linked body's power, the sleep and dreaming of the tree and plant, the animal's vibrant sense, the thought in man, to the effulgence of a ray above. Its skill endorsing matter's right to think, cuts sentient passages from the mind of flesh, and fount a means of nescience to know, offering its little squares and cubes of word as figures, substitutes for reality, a mummified mnemonic alphabet. It helped the unseen force to read her works. A buried consciousness arose in her, and now she dreams herself human and awake. But all was still immobile ignorance. Still knowledge could not come and firmly grasp this huge invention, seen as a universe, a specialist of logic's hard machine, imposed its rigid artifice of the soul in aid of the inventor's intellect. It cut truth in manageable bits, and each that might have his ration of thought food. Then new built truth slain body by its art, a robot exact and serviceable and false, displaced the spirit's finer view of things. A polished engine did the work of a god. None the truth body found, its soul seemed dead. None had the inner look which sees truth's whole. All glorified the glittering substitute. Then from the secret heights a wave swept down. A brilliant chaos of rebel light arose. It looked above and saw the dazzling peaks. It looked within and woke the sleeping god. Imagination called her shining squads that venture into undiscovered scenes. Hey, Piggy Ditas, what you doing, girl? Am I ready, girl? Where all the marvels lurk, none yet has known. Love that puppy dog. Oh, that's the sweetest puppy dog ever lived. Lifting her beautiful and miraculous head, she conspired with inspiration's sister brood to fill thought skies with glimmering nebulae. A bright error fringed the mystery. Altars freeze. Altars freeze, F-R-I-E-Z-E. Darkness grew, nursed to wisdom's occult sun. Myth suckled knowledge with her lustrous milk. The infant passed from dim to radiant breast. Thus worked the power upon the growing world. Its subtle craft withheld a full-orbed blaze, cherished the soul's childhood on a fictitious fed, far richer in their sweet and nectarous sap, nourishing its immature divinity, that the staple of dry straw of reason's tilth, its heaped fodder of innumerable facts, plebeian fare on which today we thrive. Thus streamed down from the realm of early light, ethereal thinkings into matter's world. Its gold-horned herds trooped into earth's cave heart. Its morning rays illumined our twilight eyes. Its young formations moved the mind of earth to labor and to dream and new create, to feel beauty's touch and know the world and self. The golden child began to think and see. Thank y'all for joining me. I'm so enjoying this. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. I'll keep on keeping on. In those bright realms are mind's first forward steps, ignorant of all but eager to know all. Its curious slow inquiries there begins, ever its searching grasp at shapes around, ever it hopes to find out greater things. Ardent and golden gleamed with sunrise fires, alert it lives upon invention's verge. Yet all it does is on an infant scale, as if the cosmos were a nursery game. Mind, life, the plaything of a titan's babe. As one who works, who builds a mimic fort, miraculously stable for a while, made of the sands upon a bank of time, mid an occult eternity's shoreless sea, a small keen instrument the great Piscians chose, an arduous pastime passionately pursues to teach the ignorance in her difficult charge. Her thought starts from an original nescient void, and what she teaches she herself must learn, arousing knowledge from its sleepy lair. For knowledge comes not to us as a guest called in our chamber from the outer world, a friend and inanimate of our secret self, inmate of our secret self. It hid behind our minds and fell asleep, and slowly wakes beneath the blows of life. The mighty daemon lies unshaped within, to invoke, to give it form, is nature's task. All was a chaos of the true and false. Man, I just got a flash in my third eye of the emerald green nature that me and Piggy are going to be fortunate to be living and existing in very soon in Oregon. We're going up there to live and work, further our business and our life and our love and our light and our travels and our journey. We are the traveler of the worlds, every last one of us. All was chaos of the true and false. Mind sought amid deep mist of nescience. It looked within itself, but saw not God. A material interim diplomacy denied the truth that transient truths might live, and hid the deity in creed and guess. That the world ignorance might grow slowly wise. This was the imbroglio made by sovereign mind, looking for a gleam ridge into the night. In her first tamperings with inconscience, its alien dusk baffles her luminous eyes. Her rapid hands must learn a cautious zeal. Only a slow advance the earth can bear. Yet was her strength unlike the unseeing earth's, compelled to handle makeshift instruments, invented by the life force and the flesh. Earth all perceives through the doubtful images. All she conceives is hazardous jets of sight. Small lights kindled by touches of groping thought, incapable of the soul's direct in-look. She sees by spasms and solders knowledge scrap, makes truth the slave girl of her indigence, expelling nature's mystic unity, cuts into quantum and mass the moving all. She takes for measuring rod her ignorance, in her own domain a pontiff and a seer. The greater power with her half-risen sun, S-U-N, wrought within limits but possessed her field. She knew by a privilege of thinking force, and claimed an infant sovereignty of sight. In her eyes, however darkly fringed, was lit the archangel's gaze, who knows inspired his acts, and shapes a world in its far-seeing flame. In her own realm she stumbles not nor fails, but moves in boundaries of subtle power, across which mind can step towards the sun, a candidate for a higher suzerainty, a passage she cut through from night to light, and searched for an ungrasped omniscience. A dwarf three-bodied trinity was her serf, first smallest of the three, but strong of limb. A low brow with a square heavy jaw, a pygmy thought needing to live in bounds, forever stooped to hammer fact and form, absorbed and cabined in external sight. It takes its stand on nature's solid base, a technician admirable, a thinker crude, a riveter of life to habit's grooves, obedient to gross matter's tyranny, a prisoner of the molds in which it works. It binds itself by what itself creates. A slave of a fixed mass of absolute rules, it sees a law, the habits of the world. It sees the truth. It sees as truth the habits of the mind. In its realm of concrete images and events, turning in a circle of ideas and ever repeating old familiar acts. It lives content with the common and the known. It loves the ground that was its dwelling place, abhorring change as an audacious sin, distrustful of each new discovery. Only it advances step by careful step, and fears as if deadly abyss the unknown. A prudent treasurer of its ignorance shrinks from adventure, blinks at glorious hope, preferring a safe foothold upon things to the dangerous joy of wideness and of height. The world's slow impressions on its laboring mind, tardy imprints almost indelible, increase their value by their poverty. The old sure memories are its capital stock. Only what sense can grasp seems absolute. External fact, it figures as sole truth. Wisdom identifies with the earthward look. as things long known and actions always done are to its clinging hold a balustrade of safety on a perilous stair of time. Heaven's trust to it are and established ancient ways, immutable laws man has no right to change, a sacred legacy from the great dead past. Piggy, leave here alone. Come on, Needles, leave that here alone. I'll clean it again. I promise. A secret legacy from the great dead past, or the one road that God has made for life, a firm shape of nature, never to be changed. Part of the huge routine of the universe, a smile from the preserver of the worlds, sent down of old this guardian mind to earth, that all might stand in their fixed changeless type, and from their secular posture never move. One sees it circling faithful to its task, tireless in an assigned traditions round in decayed and crumbling offices of time. It keeps close guard in front of custom's wall, or in an ancient night's dim environs, in dozens on a little courtyard stones. It dozes on a little courtyard stones, and barks at every unfamiliar light. That you, Rocosito? As at a foe who would break up its home. Oh, poor Rocosito, my watchdog. A watchdog of the spirit's sense-railed house against intruders from the invisible, nourished on scraps of life and matter's bones. In its kennel of objective servitude, and yet behind it stands a cosmic might. A measured greatness keeps its vaster plan. A fathomless sameness rhythms the tread of life. The stars' changeless orbits furrow inert space. A million species follow one mute law. A huge inertness is the world's defense. Even in change is treasured changelessness. Only inertia revolts, revolutions sink. Into inertia, revolutions sink. In a new dress, the old resumes its role. The energy acts, the stable is its seal. On Shiva's breast is stayed the enormous dance. A fiery spirit came next of the three, a hunchback rider of the red wild ass. A rash intelligence leaped down lion-maned from a great mystic flame that rings the worlds, and with its direct edge eats at being's heart. Then sprang the burning vision of desire, 1,000 shapes it wore, took numberless names, a need of multitude of and uncertainty, pricks it forever to pursue the one, on countless roads across the vast of time, through circuits of unending difference. It burns all breasts with an ambiguous fire, a radiance gleaming on a murky stream. Inflamed towards heaven, then sank, engulfed towards hell. It climbed to drag down truth into the mire, and used for muddy ends its brilliant force. A huge chameleon, gold and blue and red, turning to black and gray and lurid brown. Hungry, it stared from a molten boat of life, to snap up insect joys, its favorite food, the dingy sustenance of a sumptuous frame, nursing the splendid passion of its hues, a snake of flame with a dull cloud for tail, followed by a dream brood of glimmering thoughts, a lifted head with many tinged flickering crest. It licked at knowledge with a smoky tongue, a whirlpool sucking in an empty air. In base on a vacancy, stupendous claims, in nothingness born to nothingness returned. Yet all the time, unwittingly it drove towards the hidden something that is all. Ardent to find, incapable to retain, a brilliant instability was its mark. To err is inborn trend, its native cue. At once to an unreflecting credence prone, and thought all true that flattered its own hopes, its cherished golden nothings, born of wish. It snatched at the unreal for provender. In darkness it discovered luminous shapes, peering into a shadow hung half-light. It saw hued images scrawled on fancy's cave, or it swept in circles through conjecture's night, and caught in imagination's camera. Bright scenes of promise held by transient flares, fixed in life's air the fleet of hurrying dreams. Kept prints of passing forms and hooded powers, and flash images of half-seen verities. an eager spring to seize and to possess, unguided by reason or seeing the soul, was its first natural motion and its last. It squandered life's force to achieve the impossible. It scorned the straight road and ran on wandering curves, and left what it had won for untried things. It saw unrealized aims as instant fate, and chose the precipice for its leap to heaven. Adventure, its system in the gamble of life, it took fortuitous gains as safe results. Error discouraged not its confident view, ignorant of the deep law of being's ways, and failure could not slow its fiery clutch. One chance made true warranted all the rest. Attempt nor victory was the charm of life, an uncertain winner of uncertain stakes. Instinct its dam, and the life mind its sire. It ran its race and came in first or last. Yet were its works nor small, and vain not nor null. It nursed a portion of infinity's strength, and could create the high things its fancy willed. Its passion caught what calm intelligence missed, in sight of impulse laid its leaping grasp. On heaven's high thought had hidden in dazzling mists. Ooh, my whole head is tingling. Caught glimmers that revealed a lurking sun. It probed the void and found a treasure there. A half-intuition purpled in its sense. It threw the lightning's fork and hit the unseen. It saw in the dark and vaguely blinked in the light. Ignorance was its field, the unknown its prize. All of these powers, the greatest was the last. Arriving late from a far plane of thought into a packed, irrational world of chance, where all was grossly felt and blindly done, yet the haphazard seemed the inevitable. Came reason, the squat Godhead artisan, to her narrow house upon a ridge in time, adept of clear contrivance and design, a pensive face and close and peering eyes. She took her firm and irremovable seat, the strongest, wisest of the troll-like three. Armed with her lens and measuring rod and probe, she looked upon an object universe, and the multitudes that in it live and die, and the body of space, and the fleeting soul of time, and took the earth and stars into her hands to try what she could make of these strange things. In her strong, purposeful, laborious mind, inventing her scheme lines of reality. Woo! Good. And the geometric curves of her time plan, she multiplied her slow half-cuts at truth. Impatient of enigma and the unknown, intolerant of the lawless and the unique, imposing reflection on the march of force, imposing clarity on the unfathomable. She strove to reduce the rules, the mystic world, nothing she knew but all things hoped to know, in dark inconscient realms once void of thought, missioned by a supreme intelligence to throw its ray upon obscure vast, an imperfect light leading an erring mask by the power of sense and the idea and word. She ferrets out nature's process, substance, cause, all life to harmonize by thought's control. She, with the huge imbroglio, struggles still, ignorant of all but her own seeking mind. To save the world from ignorance, she came a sovereign worker through the centuries, observing and remolding all that is. Confident she took up her stupendous charge. There the low, bent, and mighty figure sits, bowed under the arc lamps of her factory home. Amid the clatter and ringing of her tools, a rigorous stare in her creative eyes, coercing the plastic stuff of cosmic mind, she sets the hard inventions of her brain in a pattern of eternal fixity. Indifferent to the cosmic dumb demands, unconscious of too close realities, of the unspoken thought, the voiceless heart, she leans to forge her credos and iron codes and metal structures to imprison life, the mechanic models of all things that are. For the world seen she weaves a world conceived. She spins in stiff but unsubstantial lines. Her gossamer world webs of abstract thought. Her segment systems of the infinite, her theodicies of cosmogonic charts and myths by which she explains the inexplicable. At will she spaces in thin air of mind, like maps in the schoolhouse of intellect hung, forcing wide truth into a narrow scheme. Her numberless warring script philosophies out of nature's body of phenomenon, she carves with thought keen edge and ridge lines, like rails for the world magician's power to run. Her science is precise and absolute on the huge bare walls of human nescience, written round nature's deep done hieroglyphs. She pins in clear demotic characters the vast encyclopedia of her thoughts, an algebra of her mathematic signs. Her numbers and unerring formulas she builds to clench her summary of things on all sides, runs as if in a cosmic mosque, tracing the scriptural verses of her laws, the daedal of her patterned arabesques, art of her wisdom, artifice of her lore. This artifice are her only stock. In her high works of pure intelligence, in her withdrawals from the senses' traps, there comes no breaking of the walls of mind. There leaps no rending flash of absolute power. There dawns no light of heavenly certitude. A million faces wears her knowledge here, and every face is turbaned with a doubt. All now questioning, all reduced to naught. Once monumental in their massive craft, her old great mythic writings disappear, and into their places start strict ephemeral signs. The constant change spells progress to her eyes. Her thought is an endless march without a goal. Ooh. We'll take a break at the end of this page. Without a goal, there is no summit on which she can stand and see in a single glance the infinite's whole. And it conclusive plays its reason's toil. Each strong idea can use hers as its tool. Accepting every brief, she pleads her case. Open to every thought she cannot know, the eternal advocate seated as judge, armors in logic's invulnerable mail, 1,000 combatants of for truth's veiled throne, and sets on high horseback of argument to tilt forever with a worldly lance in a mock tournament where none can win. Assaying thought's value her with her rigid test. Balanced she sits on a wide and empty air, aloof and pure in her impartial poise. Absolute her judgments seem, but none is sure. Time cancels all her verdicts in appeal. Although like sunbeams to our glowworm mind, her knowledge feigns to fall from a clear heaven. Its rays are a lantern's luster in the night. She throws a glimmering robe on ignorance, but now is lost in her ancient sovereign claim. To rule mind's high realm is her absolute right. Bind through with logic